Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is about my journey of terms of becoming a certified management accountant. This is a exam preview. This is part one of the CMA. Okay, my disclaimer and copyright notice: the information and opinions in this presentation are those of the author only and not the author's employers or affiliated organizations, including but not limited to Irvine Valley College and the South Orange County Community College District. The presentation is for educational purposes only and does not constitute any legal or accounting advice whatsoever. The previews we're going to be looking at here today are copyright, Becker Professional Education. Other articles I'm going to be going through and referencing are the copyright of those owners reflected. And again, I got the reason behind this video is that I was, because of you, my viewers, the CMA Exam Academy reached out to me and they said, hey, would you be willing to do an unboxing? And before I decided to kind of go through and do that, I wanted to kind of first really better understand what the CMA was really all about. So let's go through and take a look. So we're going to be doing this, basically, this is the preview of the CMA exam. The exam comes in two parts, and they have to be passed within a 2-month window. You're going to take them through Prometric, which is a testing center. They do have time off, and it's really because they have to go through and they follow a pretty, I want to say formal or rigorous for exam grading, but it's something that they kind of go through and do just to basically make sure that they're being consistent. Okay, so and I'm going to be using today the Becker CPA review and also Becker Professional Education. They gave me access, free access to their online materials. I am showing these only as a preview because I think for you as a student, it's really good to kind of see what I always recommend. Do a trial period first, just to basically make sure that it's right for you. All these materials are copyright by Becker Professional Education. It is not my property, but rather a way of giving you a preview as to how they have their CMA exam review set up so that you can know this is the best review course for you. So let's kind of go through and kind of take a look at this over here. So the CMA exam is basically when we look at it, and I'll just kind of show you where I'm getting most of my information from. So when I come over here to Becker, and let's just make sure this doesn't go offline. Perfect. So when I come over here to Becker, the CMA basically over here for, let's put this up here. Okay. So this kind of looks familiar. If you're familiar with any of the videos that I've done that kind of highlights what Becker CPA review looks like, this is just another kind of, this is kind of the format that they go through and use. They have modules, and then within each module, they have the different content. So when I kind of go over here and look at basically part one of the CMA exam, and let's just kind of get a bigger picture of this. So this breakdown over here, this is done by the CMA Exam Academy. And I'm just going to go ahead and open this up. And again, this is the one that reached out to me. I'm now connected with Nathan on LinkedIn. Seems to be like a really good guy. And over here, these are all the different CMA candidates. So if he has actually helped out 37,000 people, all the power to him. And if you kind of go through and look at over here, and I'll provide this link below. But when we kind of go through and look up the content, basically what are the different, what's the different content that's basically going to be on the exam. And let me just kind of go through and find this. Just give me a moment. So the outline, basically, where does the content come from part one of the exam? So you're going to have external financial reporting decisions coming up with about 15%. Planning, budgeting, and forecasting is about 20% of the exam. Performance management is about 20%. Cost management is about 15%. Internal controls is about 15%. And then technology and analytics. So all this stuff I'm showing you over here is kind of coming from the CMA Exams Academy's website. Again, this is someone who really specializes in giving this test. So here's the topics that are going through and covered. But let's go ahead and take a look at how Becker has this. Let's go ahead and take a look at how Becker has this set up. So when we come over here to Becker, what you're going to find is we go over here to basically the very first module. And if you look at how they have this set up, they're basically taking, okay, here's an intro video. And if we look at this over here, they're also giving you flashcards. They're giving you a digital textbook, teaching slides. And I'm pretty sure that also as well with when you purchase a review course, you can also go through and get the hard copies as well. So I'm almost positive Becker has hard copies of this as well as a digital version. And then over here, what they're doing, and just so you can kind of see how this works. So we start over here with concept videos. I went through and attempted to do some of the questions on my own, but if we have this, so if you kind of look at this over here, what they kind of do is they have a video. So what you're going to have is you're going to have someone going through and essentially teaching it to you, right? So if we're learning this, if you've taken classes at like, so if you went through and you took some of my classes like financial accounting, managerial accounting, if you've had some of this information before academically, this is going to be a lot easier for you as opposed to kind of going through and learning it for the very first time. If I was a history major and if I have some work experience and now I'm trying to become a CMA, some of this might be a little bit harder because this is not really a review. It's really the first time you're kind of going through and learning about it. So over here, we can kind of see they've got concept videos laid out for me, basically for this. And then I get into the multiple choice questions. And let's see. Okay. So under IFRS, I missed these questions here. So let's see if I can kind of get this right. Under International Financial Reporting Standards, which of the following would be included in the income statement from continuing operations on the income statement? So a large loss from a foreign currency transaction, a union strike that shuts down operations for 3 months, a foreign government that takes possession of a company's only plant, and then damage to a factory due to an earthquake in an area that had not previously experienced earthquakes. Now, in my mind, if I was doing this under US GAAP, it would not be continuing. Well, it depends on how you define it. If you're looking at continuing operations, this would probably also be including other income or expense. So I'm going to go ahead and say this one right over here. And I was correct. Under IFRS, all these would be included from continuing operations. The same treatment would be applied to these items under US GAAP. I missed this question the first time I took it because when I saw the term continuing operations, I'm immediately overthinking this and thinking, well, there's continuing and there's discontinued operations. So I was thinking it's more of like operating income and not this part over here. So this is just kind of an example of, how you would kind of go through and do it over here, Lewis Industry Report. So you'll kind of go through and see, basically you kind of go through here and it'll tell you after you're done with the test, it'll kind of grade you as you're going through. And so obviously you want to get this up to 100%. And if I kind of look at this over here, it'll tell me the time spent. So my very first time I went through and did it, I got 13 out of 17 correct in 9 minutes and 44 seconds. So it's kind of helping you kind of go through and track. So again, so every single part of this over here, if we kind of go back through and look at we're on part 1 of the CMA exam, and as I go through and look at this, these are the various different modules that Becker is kind of going through and using. So they've got a background of the accounting cycle, financial statements part 1, part 2, asset valuation for receivables and inventory, investments in long-term assets, liabilities, and equity, special valuation considerations for taxes and leases, and then revenue recognition. So a lot of this is going to be financial accounting. Over here, when we're starting to look at overhead costs and cost management, these are the different sections that are within Becker. So like for myself, I would probably be, because some of these things I'm going to be more familiar with than others. But if I say, look at over here, like measurement concepts, part 2, and if I come over here to the concept videos, and so this is basically absorption versus continuation approach. So I think what I would, again, what I would probably try to go through and do is to basically take the multiple choice questions first, kind of like I did on the other one, see how I was scoring. And then if I needed to, I would go back and probably watch the videos. And these are the, so this is Peter Olinto. He's one of the famous Becker, he does a lot of the stuff for their CPA review. And so obviously they're also using him for the CMA exam as well. So again, over here, and also remember with the format of the exam, there are going to be two essay questions, right? So if we kind of look at these questions over here, basically, let's go ahead and see a look. So under absorption costing, calculate the following: cost per unit, inventory value, and then let's go ahead and say it here. Click here to view the scenario. So they're the manufacturer of a single product and is starting to develop a budget for the coming year because the cost of goods manufactured is the biggest item. I'm in senior management is reviewing how costs are calculated. In addition, senior management wants to view a budgeting system that motivates managers and others to work towards the corporate goals, is incur the following cost to make 100,000 units during the month of September. And basically over here, so it's telling us, go through and see over here. So using absorption costing, then using variable costing, identify why the income calculated in the previous two questions might differ. That sounds like one of my exact tests. And then identify the advantage of each of the following over here. So this is basically scenario 2. And so we kind of go through and look at this. So again, so this is really kind of helping you, like, and again, I haven't seen other, I haven't gone through and seen other parts of it, but this is definitely something where I would be kind of looking at it saying, okay, I need to basically study for the exam. Let's kind of go through and look at the essays. Okay, so I would be doing these different essay questions, and you see that this only has multiple choice questions, which means they haven't tested it in an essay format. So again, you're going to be going through as you're studying for the CMA exam. Just remember, you've got 100 multiple choice questions. You got to score at least a 50% on them. And then you have the 2 essay questions. Okay. So we look at these 2 different modules over here. So just kind of going through and previewing it. Just going to remember what's covered in part 1: external financial reporting, planning, budgeting, forecasting, performance management, cost management. So all these different parts over here in terms of looking for the Becker CMA exam, these are all different parts that they're going to be going through and teaching you in their various different modules. So when you go through and look at this, some modules have more topics than others. And then the last thing they're going to be going through and doing is you're going to have a simulated exam. So I come over here for part 1. I get over here to U6, basically technology and analytics. And then I'm going to come over here for a simulated exam. So, and what Becker does is they said, okay, basically take this 1 week before you take the exam. And then for the simulated exam 2, they say, take this the week you take the test. So these are kind of things where I would kind of go through and say that this is, so if you go through and do these different modules and you kind of go through and learn it that way, and then you're going through and doing the simulated exams, you're going to have some really good you're going to have really good preparation. So one of the things, though, that I do want to mention is that when we're going through and looking at all these different things, is that when it comes to taking a test, is that you absolutely want to use a review course. Whenever I'm going through and recommending things, right? Whether it be Rogers CPA review, Becker CPA review, CMA through Becker. I have not yet. I'm going to hopefully do the unboxing of the CMA Exam Academy very shortly. But I would actually, if I was going to be going through and paying for the CMA Exam Academy, if I was going to go through and buy it, because they said to me, well, you can have the printed materials for free, but you need, because we want you to make a video on them. It's like, fine, but they wanted me to pay for the actual doing it, and if I was going to pay for it, I'm not saying that I won't, but if I was going to pay for it, I would want to preview it first. The reason why, whenever you're taking, if I'm going to be an enrolled agent, if I'm going to be a real estate broker, if I'm going to be an attorney, if I'm going to be a CPA, you have to use a review course. Do not rely on academic material to help you go through and study. The reason is because when you kind of go through and you are studying for one of these exams, it is very different than what you learned. It's not that it's different. It's just that the testing, you want to take it from a provider that's going to be giving you something that basically looks like what the exam is truly going to look like. Academics generally don't do that. Taking classes out of college, I have a feeling that I'm like looking at what I just previewed for you in that essay question looks a lot like one of my exams that I give. But again, it's not something that you want to you don't want to look at what I learned in school to study. You have to use review materials. And if you don't use review materials, that's going to be absolutely nuts. Now, the cool thing about this is basically over here, if I'm going through and scheduling my exam, it'll basically give me a whole tracking, meaning that when am I actually going to be ready to go through and do it? So this is something that, again, if you're going through and looking at your performance, when do they have like different classes? Let's see here. Basically class preview, tutorials, so all these different things. So again, as you're going through, you get a free preview of it before you buy it. Just make sure it's the best course for you. That's really what I would tell you to do. I'm very agnostic when it comes to review courses. And it's just it's really going to be whatever works best for the student. I'm not going to recommend one or the other. Rather, my goal here is just to kind of give you a preview. But what I can tell you is, if you're taking the CMA exam, if you're taking the CPA exam, if you're taking the bar exam, or the special enrolled agents examination, you absolutely have to get a review course. So I want to thank you, though, for being here with me today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below, or feel free to send me an email to 1812cpa@gmail.com. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day.